Welcome to another episode. Today I will make a handled butcher. If you don't know what that means, I will tell you in just a moment. I am still on an axe forging mission, and for the simple axe I plan on forging, I need a way to cleanly separate the eye from the blade. A butcher allows me to separate steel at a steep angle, as shown on the picture here. I am starting off with a round bar of tough tool steel, 4340 to be precise. The bar is 1.5 inches round, and I'm marking where I want to punch the eye. The eye is where the wooden handle I'm making later will attach. The blacksmithing method to create the eye is to first use a slot punch to establish a slot, and then open it up with a drift. This removes very little steel, and is much better than drilling or milling the eye. You will see. My little slot punch is really too small for this project, but I did not want to spend extra time making a larger one. That said, you will notice that the tip gets quite hot, and that I need to occasionally dress it up. By the end of this project, I lost an inch or so of the tool, and will definitely need to make a new one later. Punching a slot through the round bar is taking quite a while. One of the challenges with using a small tool is that the tip of the slot punch upsets quickly, and then it becomes very difficult to remove. I'm still working to punch a hole all the way through, and the way to make sure the slot comes out reasonably centered in the middle is to punch from both sides. As you can see, this takes quite a few heats. 4340 has a lot of nickel, which makes it tough to work with as well. Here is a good example where the slot punch got stuck and needed extra help to get out. But the slot is finally punched, and now I need to open up the hole with the drift. The drift is evenly tapered and is easier to remove from the steel. As you can see, it gets quickly hot as well. Once I've opened up the hole with this drift, I will switch over to a much larger drift that allows me to make an eye that will be big enough for the handle. The bigger drift is courtesy of Jim Austin, who teaches amazing axe forging classes in Oakland. If you are interested, reach out to him and subscribe to his announcement mailing list. See the email in the description. Making the eye large enough is taking a few heats as well. The eye quickly cools down as the drift is expanding it. Fortunately, the larger drift is also easy to remove. Occasionally, I forge on the sides of the eye. This makes the drift come out easier and also slowly changes the round bar into the shape for the head of the butcher. One of the challenges here is to keep the oval shape of the eye centered precisely in the middle. Unfortunately, I was off a little bit at the very beginning, and that error translates all the way into the eye being slightly rotated. If you watch closely, you can see how quickly the steel cools down around the drift. As I'm working over the hardy hole, I move the steel from side to side to give it more support by the anvil. I am happy for now with the size of the eye, and will now start to establish the transition from the eye to the business end of the butcher. My blacksmith helper allows me to precisely fuller. My next step is to separate the steel a little bit and then to forge in a chisel profile where one side is flat and the other side angled at roughly 35 degrees or something like that. Because one of the sides is going to remain flat, I'm fullering only 3 sides and I'm resting the side that will stay flat on the anvil as you are seeing here. Now it's time to taper the butcher into the chisel profile I just mentioned. All the work is impacting the shape of the eye, even though I was trying to be careful. I'm quickly re-establishing the right shape with the drift here. I am drifting from 2 sides so that the middle of the eye will be a little bit smaller inside, and this allows me to attach the wooden handle using a wedge. The wedge will expand the top of the wood and the butcher will then be securely attached. I will show you all of this in a couple of minutes. When I forged in the chisel profile, I created a little bit of a cold shot that I'm now grinding off. As you can see, my metal dust collector continues to work quite well. I had left the bar intentionally longer so that I had something to grab with my tongs. Now it's time to cut it off, and the remaining steel will be the backside of the butcher that will be hit by the hammer. While not really necessary, I'm going to forge the backside into an octagon that is a little bit smaller than the eye. This is mostly for aesthetics and only a slight functional improvement. However, given all the time invested in creating this simple tool, I might as well spend a little bit more time to make it also look nice. To separate the steel, I'm using my blacksmith helper again. While I did the forging by hand so far, this is something with a power hammer can quickly establish the flat sides of the octagon. I'm using a hot rasp to flatten the top of the steel I just forged. When the steel is hot, the rasp can quickly remove metal. Before I take the butcher to the grinder, I want to normalize it by letting it cool down slowly. I will spend a little bit of time on the grinder to clean up the butcher and establish the chisel profile cleanly. As you can see, even when forging quite precisely, the grinder can make the surface much flatter. The final cleanup of the lines is done with hand files. All of this is purely for aesthetics, but as I mentioned before, given the time investment, this seems like part of the necessary due diligence. I am using a finer belt now, and this will be the last step before heat treating the butcher. Heat treating of the butcher is going to be interesting. I want the side that parts the steel to be quite hard, but the end that will be hit by a hammer quite soft. I am heating the whole piece up to critical temperature, but will only quench the parting side of the butcher. I am now using the remaining heat where I didn't quench to temper the parting edge. I'm using a stone to reveal blank steel and then watch for tempering colors to move to the edge. When it looks blue, I will cool it down again. This is a little bit difficult to see on the video, but if you look closely, you will see the color front move down. After I'm happy with the temper of the edge, it's time to make sure the back end is as soft as possible. Alright, the butcher itself is now finished, and it's time to put a wooden handle on it. This is not something I would consider myself an expert in, but you can see the process I'm using. I found a board of hardwood in the shop, and I'm cutting off a handle-sized piece. The challenge when making a handle is really just to shape the size of the wood that needs to fit into the eye. After cutting wood on the metal bandsaw, it's also important to switch the speed of the blade back to steel. I am drawing the rough dimensions of the eye onto the wood to cut out. This will give me a good starting point to then closely match the wood to the size of the eye. The initial shaping can happen on the belt sander, where I just eyeball the dimensions. I'm using the butcher itself to confirm the fit and then check where the steel is marring the wood to know where I need to remove more. This is a pretty iterative process that takes some time. As you can see, I'm only working on the eye right now, and I'm leaving the rest of the handle very thick. The reason for that is that, as I had mentioned earlier, the eye itself is slightly rotated. I will establish flat sides on the wood based on the actual fit in relation to the butcher, as you can see here. The spoke shave is another tool that's very helpful for shaping handles. I'm using it here to remove a lot of wood in a controlled fashion quite quickly. My goal for the handle is to fit comfortably in my hand and to give me a very clear orientation of the tool. I am using the slack belt with the fine grit to smooth the handle out. That's basically it. I'm now cutting off the excess part and will then fit a small wedge into the wood to secure the butcher tightly. The wedge comes from a piece of hardwood that I had cut off earlier from the same board. I'm not using any glue here, but a little bit of linseed oil instead, which may slow the wood drying out. No matter what you do, at some point the fit will need to be readjusted again. Driving the wedge into the wood is going to expand the wood at the top and secure the head of the butcher. As you may recall from earlier, I drifted from both sides of the eye, so the middle of the eye is narrower overall, and that's what secures the butcher to the wooden handle. I'll cut the extra wood off again and take the butcher briefly to the belt sander to further refine the edge of the tool. Alright, it's time to see the butcher in action. I'm taking a bar of steel and will cleanly forge a very sharp transition. These kind of transitions really require a tool like a butcher to look clean. After separating the material, I'm using a big set hammer to forge the separated steel flat. And there you have it, a sharp 90-degree corner established with the new butcher tool I just made. I hope you found this video useful and picked up some new tricks. Whether you liked it or not, leave me some feedback, and if you want to see future videos, please subscribe to my channel. As always, thanks to everyone who is sticking it out with me on Patreon. I appreciate the support. See you next time.